How's it going, everybody? Sandwhichpants here today, and we got some stuff to go over. Let me go ahead and just lay out a little bit of what I'm doing here. I've got COVID news to cover, I've got messages of political efficacy, and I've got problems that I see with the online left community. Problems that I literally come across every single day. So we got a little bit here to go for. I got a bit of a trend to show, it all leads into the political efficacy. I know I can kind of ramble a little bit, and I don't follow a train of thought super well and like one succinct. I don't line out all my shit. I don't write anything down. All of it is off the cuff. I generally just pull up random things I want to look over for the day. COVID stuff, and then yeah, talk about things as they come up. I get fish brain distracted super easy. And I might jump on some Minecraft while I'm streaming, just to kind of keep my brain occupied while I talk about these things, so I don't fish brain around too much, that is. So what we've got here, Trump threatens to veto COVID bill. So let's see.
Moments ago, President
Trump. Oh, it's also going to be some hypocrisy or some direct propaganda, not direct propaganda, signs, direct signs of a propaganda network.
Trump called on Congress to amend the COVID-19 bill to include $2,000 stimulus checks. Watch this.
I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple.
So, okay, that just happened moments ago. Let's bring in our panel. Mark Thiessen, American Enterprise Institute scholar, Jeroy Murdoch, contributing editor at National Review Online, and Raymond Arroyo, author of The Spider Who Saved Christmas, all our Fox News contributors. Great to have all of you here tonight. Let's go down the line here. Mark, first of all, your response to this news, good to have you, that the president has gone back to asking for something that he asked for much earlier on in this process, which was $2,000 checks across the board as part of this bill. What do you think?
We're not going to get $2,000 checks. The reality is that they've been trying to pass this since July, despite the fact that they agreed on almost every element of it in some way, shape, or form, but only we're able to do this now. You can argue with pieces of it. Not everybody likes every part of it, but one, I don't think $2,000 checks are justified, and two, I don't think there's any chance that Congress is going to do this.
All right, immediately out of the gate. News person, good job, just reporting shit. This is actual, like, news report. This isn't some Sean Hannity, fucking Tucker Carlson talking head bullshit. She just laid out information there. She pulled on a panel to discuss it, and first off, this dumb piece of shit right here, $2,000 isn't justified. Who the fuck told everybody to stay home and not go to work unless they are an essential worker? Was it random American people? No, it was the goddamn government. So when they say to stay home and not go to work, they need to be paying for that shit. Oh, you have rent that's due every month? Because not everybody owns a fucking house. How many renters in I don't even know anything about this. Nothing about this website. I don't know their bias or anything. But look at this. Oh, I have a lot of regrets about the property I rent. 36% of Americans living in rental properties. Contrast that with There it is. 0.2% of the population of the U.S., which isn't a lot, but it's still a really sad statistic. So you got about 36.2% of people who don't actually own a home. Actually, I'm pretty sure that that's not right. Okay, so we've got 44 million U.S. households. Ah, there we go. There's the key right there. Households. This says 36% Americans. This doesn't line out to this. This should just say... This shouldn't say 36% of Americans. It should say a percentage of households, which... 360 million people. Oh wait, if I'm doing a percentage, I need to have the appropriate number first. Divided by 360,000. 360 million. 0.12, so 1.2% of the population. No, that's 12% of the... That's all the... that's everybody. 12% of the population. That's how many households. Oh. I know what I did there. I'm not great at math, so I had to think about it for a second. That's 44 million households, which... means if they're assuming nuclear families, 4 children, or 4 people in a house, which isn't the case, like most of the time. There's usually more, sometimes less. There's quite a few single children that I knew of, but one of my best friends in middle school, that's a weird situation. I don't know how many of there are. He grew up without siblings, but he has siblings, older ones. They were just old enough to not live at the house when he was growing up. Nearly 109 million people. So that's a third. That's over a third. Yeah, okay, nearly 109 million people made up these households. Probably more than that, but look at that. $4,000 a month to live in Manhattan. That's just the rent. $56 billion. Just, yeah. Housing should be free. Okay, so what this guy was saying. $2,000 checks? Unjustified? Are you kidding me? Also, will Congress do it? I think they will.
Yeah, so Joe,
and we'll get to that. Why they will.
Why do you think the president's calling for this tonight? What's behind it in your mind?
Well, I think he's disappointed that the amount of money given out in checks is smaller than he wanted. I think he wanted $1,800 or $1,200. I think it was just a couple months ago, and that was rejected. Now we're down to $600. What I'd like to see is some targeted relief for restaurants. The restaurant industry is aching. I live in New York City. I'm actually right now sitting just outside of a wonderful old restaurant called Bar Bacon that's now dead and has been dead for months. Every restaurant on this block is kaput. They really should get some help because they've been told, sorry, you can't do any business, and a lot of them have just either gone kaput or just barely holding on.
Now that is dependent on the states. My actual daytime job is to deliver to restaurants. That's what I fucking do. And I'll tell you what, folks. There's been some dips in orders. But also, there's been some rises Now, my state is really bad with the COVID stuff. My boss is taking it extraordinarily seriously. He, surprisingly, the person who owns the business I work at doesn't think of it as some hoax or something that isn't that bad and blah, 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 blah. I know some people, personally, that I love very much, family members of mine, who don't think that much of COVID. They just think of it as the new flu. But, I don't know. Diseases are getting worse, y'all. Just the more we fuck with shit, the diseases get worse. It's just a fact. It happens. We uncover ancient viruses in ice and stuff when we're doing excavations. Like, I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to just go out there without pretty much a hazmat suit on to do digging in areas where ancient viruses could be stored. Pretty sure there's like super strict guidelines on that now. So, oh yeah, but so what this person's saying, I don't know about New York. As a matter of fact, we can... That's not the right button. I need this one. New York... Restaurant COVID. Oh. Let's see, that's December 11th. This seems to be the most recent thing. I have no idea what this even is. Yep, they seem to have already been doing it across the country, like they're already preparing for it. Takeout and delivery after 10 p.m. Outdoor dining, takeout and delivery. So, yep. Yep. That kind of checks out. So what this person is saying about helping restaurants, I mean, it does make sense. In a lot of areas, restaurants need some fucking help.
And I think some targeted tax relief would be great. Like, just, how about no corporate tax the rest of this year, and don't pay your payroll tax until middle of next year, something like that. Some things of that sort would help more than I think just sort of blanket checks.
So, Raymond, one of the things that I think is so frustrating for people who watch this process is that we were basically around where we are now last summer, but Nancy Pelosi refused to negotiate on this deal.
Here comes the partisanship. Nancy Pelosi refused to negotiate? Oh, let's see. I'm sorry. Who the fuck blocked a $1.8 trillion package? Oh, was that Mitch McConnell? A package that actually had $2,000 payments to every American? Excuse me, the shock just caved my chest in. That Mitch McConnell would be responsible for... Another huge problem arising from Mitch McConnell blocking aid packages in the Senate. Millions of Americans are set to lose access to paid leave because of expiring provisions in relief legislation as cases spike. Senate Republicans could stop this at any time, but they aren't. 6 months ago today, the House Democrats passed the HEROES Act, Comprehensive COVID Relief Bill, and Response Bill. 6 months later, with cases surging, McConnell continues to block it. Duh. Stupid fuck questions. Holy shit. Is sending $2,000 to people a good economic policy? Yeah, a UBI can be a good policy. You just have to do them right. And I've been hearing some arguments that are convincing me a bit on not having a UBI under capitalism. I don't want to share them at the moment because I'm not fully on board with this particular thing. You can look into them. There are people who made them. I believe Thought Slime has made them. I don't like Thought Slime, but, you know, Vosh has made them. Most of the sock Dems and left grifters are people who do advocate for them. Kyle Kalinske being a sock dem, kind of. He's left libertarian in a sense. Like, he's not... He wants to reform capitalism, so he's into a social democracy. He likes the Nordic model. He doesn't want to abolish everything about capitalism, apparently. And then there's Jimmy Dore, who I think is a stupid piece of shit. And kind of grifty. He's just super combative, and that's all he has. Being combative to Democrats. I can be combative to Democrats, but he's always combative to, like, leftists. And specifically women. AOC.
I mean, there's no other way to look at it than to assume that she simply did not want anything to pass before the election, because she now got the same deal she wanted then, basically.
Right.
And she called roughly around $600 pathetic when it came to the tax cut. Now she says it's a substantial amount of money.
Well, but
Raymond.
Martha, this ends up
Oh, and notice, they're just showing Nancy Pelosi, and she is speaking. You can tell.
being the lobbyist.
But they're not playing her audio, where I'm fairly certain she's actually talking about, like, because I know what they're talking about with the $600 thing. What she said there was that it was a spectacular win for the American people because it got negotiations somewhere. It pushed things forward in a direction that was better than a standstill. Not trying to sit here and hold water for Nancy Pelosi, but I'm not going to let blatant lies and propaganda be pushed to my channel here without correcting it. Let's see. Let me move this for a moment. How much money was in the HEROES Act for people? $2.2 trillion. Improving the Paycheck Protection Program and delivering targeted assistance to... $1,200 stimulus for people. And up to $6,000 for families. Okay. That's not bad. $1,200 per person. Bernie's been pushing for that $2,000, and so is Ilhan, AOC, Rashida, Ayanna. You know. Ayanna Presley is one hell of a woman fighting in that in the Congress. AOC gets more publicity because she's a firecracker. Like, Jesus Christ. Up to $75,000. Families could also receive $1,200 for up to 3 qualified independents. Unlike the $500 payment. Yeah, see, that was a big one. $1,200 for up to 3 qualified dependents, unlike the $500 under the CARES Act. Now, this still left out quite a few people. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. This left out. I've been seeing posts on Twitter that's just I don't remember what the hashtag was, but it was like left out in COVID or something like that. But it was a whole, like, there was over 1 million people that were just left out of the relief because they were not dependents. They didn't make the $75,000 threshold, but there was like a gray area with them, so they never got their shit. They were like students out of state or something. Also prohibits the stimulus checks from being garnished. See? So, yeah, that was the thing. So Pelosi actually pushed for quite a bit there, to be honest. Okay, that's where it is.
Relief stimulus. That's what this ends up being. And the president tonight is calling Nancy Pelosi and the Senate on this. I mean, when you've got, and he called it out, when you've got $1 billion for the Smithsonian, $10 million for gender programs in Pakistan, why aren't we giving that relief to these restaurateurs? As DeRoy said a moment ago, 50% of the restaurants here in New Orleans are about to shut down. They urgently need help. This is the moment. And for Congress to fritter away this opportunity and to give payola to these lobbyists, it's disgusting under the veil of helping the American people.
Okay, I will agree with the point that saying that, helping out, paying out what lobbyists want is just absolutely disgusting. Not even just under the guise of helping the American people. It's disgusting in general. Now, this guy probably has or is a lobbyist. So, he's probably, almost certainly, hypocritical as fuck. I don't even remember what he does. But he's probably a hypocrite. But no, he's right in that regard. In that regard only. Like, the foreign aid stuff, I don't think we need to be putting that into a COVID stimulus bill. That is a little not good on our end. Like, when you're only giving us $1,200, $600 in this particular case, $600? Come on. You got, I'm pretty sure he's right with the 10 billion number to send to Pakistan, but not for the gender programs thing. I'm 99% sure. But if we can print $10 billion to send to Pakistan, why can't we print $10 billion to give to the American people? Not that that does much, but that $10 billion could be for the American people. As a matter of fact, let's see. If we just took literally every single person in the United States and gave them, oh, we'll say, we'll do it as a $8,500. It's gonna cost a lot, right? 100,000, million, billion, $3 trillion. What do you know? For the entire cost of giving companies and stuff bailouts that don't fucking need it, subsidies for oil and gas, all this other shit, they could just give everybody $8,500. It's about 7 times my pay. Almost 8 times. Although I work for the petite bourgeois, so it's not as disgusting. My boss has been in business for 20 years. 25, well, 26 years, really, almost 30. But the company before I started was him and his wife, and she does like bookkeeping. The shop manager and my friend and another guy that was honestly one of the worst workers I'd ever come across. Terrifying. Never give him a driving job. Ever. Ever. But yeah, I got brought on, and that brought the company up to the most people it had ever had working for it at one time. And then they got rid of the other guy. That was really bad. And so it was me and my buddy Sam, for those of you who watch the Minecraft stuff. And then, you know, the other people that work there. And we finally got one other guy, probably 2 years ago now. Year and a half, 2 years ago. Well, we had another guy come on for a short period, and he's really cool. He's the best. He's the coolest Satanist I've ever met. I've met a few, and he was by far the coolest one. He dresses fairly dapper in some ways. He likes his hats and stuff. But he's one of the greatest people I've ever met. He really is. Nice man. He worked for us for a short time, but he had to drive from without giving away any locations or anything, let me find out how far he is from me. Two-hour drive. $131 miles. And my house is another 15 minutes from that. So 2 hours and 15 minutes one way for work. And back. He wasn't doing it. He couldn't do it. Well, my boss understands. So they parted fair. And we got another guy that worked for the restaurant my boss was propping up after he bought it. And it did well for a while, and then there was issues with the landlord that at that location, other stuff, but it closed down, and he went to work for another company that I actually started when I first started my job. We were delivering there, but they closed down. And I'm honestly not upset by this. I hated that place. Now, this has nothing to do with what this guy is talking about, to be completely honest, except that I understand, probably better than any of these rich fucks, what needs to happen for the average person. What needs to happen is every single person gets $8,500 if they make below $75,000 a year. Actually, yeah, so that would actually cost less. That's closer to 100 and wait, 50% of the country makes between 20 and 40,000. About how many people make above? Can't look at it. $75,000 per year in the USA. Okay, a little more than 53%. So we'll just go with the 53% number. So if we take this times 0.53 equals 190,800,000. Cool. And then when we times that by 8,500. Hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, 1 trillion. What do you know? We could give all of those people, me included, yes, I'm advocating in my own self-interest, but duh, I'm advocating in my self-interest, in the self-interest of literally all other people that live in my economic strata. That's kind of what I'm here for. You're poor, you live in a red state, you don't understand, you think government bad. Come to me and I will teach you how to effectively utilize a government for your ends, for you and the people around you, to try and do what the government's promise was upon founding, to maximize life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Well, it's really goddamn hard to pursue happiness if you can't afford your rent. Or if you can't afford your rent and barely your bills, but nothing else. When you have to pay for your medication, when you don't have the ability to have leisure, are you able to pursue happiness? Are you able to have a life of liberty? Taxes aren't your issue, my friend. Corporate greed, wealth distribution, individual greed. That's the issue. And it's not that the people who own this wealth necessarily, in and of themselves, are actively bad. They've been taught a system that makes them, it's in their brain, think that they have to pursue having the most. But yes, when you do start taking sections of that pie and hoarding more of it, it is a pie. Yes, you get richer because somebody else got poorer. It's not that there's a finite amount of money. It's just that the more money you have, it's the more money you're exploiting from somebody else's labor that you are taking for yourself. Wage theft. Bezos, probably a pretty chill dude. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, Bezos probably a pretty chill dude. Not gonna lie, he might be, although his shit is real strict. He was taught that he needs to have the most. If you have the most money, you're the best. You're the guy. But that just leads to you exploiting workers so you can generate more profit, and then stealing the money, that the value they added to your service. Without them, you don't have nearly as valuable a service. It's just what it is. I don't begrudge people having a good amount of money. I wouldn't begrudge my great-grandmother, though she's passed away. I never begrudge her for having money. Granted, her money was literally just my grandfather being very smart and frugal and setting her up. He was military in World War II. If it says anything, the only time he got mad at my grandmother, she was very late to pick him up from work, as she was supposed to do. And she couldn't remember why anymore, but she remembered this. And so, the way that he took his anger out was he went and he bought himself a car, so that she didn't have to worry about coming to pick him up anymore. Now, someone can see something wrong with that. Like, he just left her the other car. You use it for shopping and going to see your friends. Full context. But if someone can see a problem with that, I'd love to hear it. It's the least toxic I think I've ever heard. Granted, there was still some toxic, like, patriarchal gender essentialism going on, but give him credit. It was 1940s. So what are we talking about with this guy again?
Escape the COVID pain.
Yeah, I just want to remind people, Mark, that there is $1.6 trillion. So we've done with this new package, about $5 trillion of stimulus. 1.6 trillion of it has not been allocated yet. And yet we've just signed up for another whole package. I mean, try to...
Oh, $1.6 trillion hadn't been... Really? Really? What was that last calculation I did? Really? Oh, okay. So I don't remember what that number was, but $1.6 trillion. All they have to do is add a little bit extra in there. 21,800,000,000. That's a drop in the bucket. And they could give every single non-$75,000. Yeah, that's every single one of them, children included. $8,500. There you fucking go. Now, if you excluded the children, let's see, what's that number? That one. I need that number. Copy. Boom. Okay, so we assume 2 kids, so we'll actually, yeah, two and a half kids. So we'll divide that by 2.5 equals, oh, what do you know, 76,320,000. And then we multiply that by that's all it would take. $648,720,000,000. 648 billion. The stimulus bill that they're fighting over was a $900 billion stimulus bill. They could stop fighting over it and just do this. Then they could fight over another $300 billion to allocate to fucking restaurants and states. McDonald's doesn't fucking need it. Wendy's doesn't need it. You give it, let's see, 300 billion? Right? That's thousands, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions. Hundreds, thousands, millions. $6 billion per fucking state. Done. It's a little more complicated than that. Some states are going to get less because lower population, lower cost of living. Like my state, lower population, lower cost of living. California would need to get a little bit more. New York would need to get a little bit more. And then, you know, distribute it out a bit, you know, where costs of living and stuff are. That's a whole different calculation, but there you go. That's that's the super easy, simple, and quote-unquote fair distribution. You give every single eligible adult $8,500, and it costs you $648 billion. That's it. You're done. You can add another 310, 330, $400 billion to the bill to make it to a different bill. Are you a different bill to fund the states on that regard? I don't care. You know what will really boost an economy? Let's see. Investopedia. Of course this would. No. Tax cuts and rebates allow consumers to stimulate. This is what does it. Consumers stimulate the economy. Investopedia is just sitting there trying to push it. Yep. Never trust shit like that. What is this? World Economic Forum. $3 trillion fucking dollars to do this. This is it. Are you sure about that? Because that looks like a bigger dip than that. As a matter of fact, anything here or here looks like a bigger dip than that. Okay. Now, okay, so a common thing that you will not hear, instead of a common thing you will hear. They won't tell you a lot of the time. The way you actually boost an economy, the way you stimulate an economy, is circulating money. By not large transactions. Those just give little boosts, little bumps. The best way to stimulate an economy is to allow the consumers to have purchasing power. If they have the capability to consume, they will consume. Our economy is propped up by bullshit right now. I mean, you've seen it. It just keeps happening over and over. Massive recessions. Crashes every 4 to 7 years on average. Bubbles burst. And the economy as a whole drops to its fucking knees. Because the people don't have purchasing power.
Explain that to people. If they took out, a 1.6 million, $160,000 loan, right? And they didn't spend any of it, that they're going to go back and get a lot more at that point. It just defies good common sense,
Merry
Mark.
Christmas.
Well, like anytime you're trying to do something this big.
Oh, that's a really bad analogy. What are you talking about? Borrow. What do you mean borrow? The United States doesn't borrow its money. We print it. Literally. Oh, what's that dumbass take that I saw? Holy shit. You guys are not going to believe this. Keemstar McChicken tweet. This shit right here. Holy fuck. I will explain to you why this is wrong. But anyways, McChicken has always been $1. McDonald's just raised the price to $1.39. Everyone wants a stimulus package from the government to get some free money. But when the government just prints more money, the money you currently have is worth less. McChicken now costs $1.39. Get it? No, Keemstar. Because you posted that 5 days ago. Buddy, when I was in high school, a full fucking decade ago, McChicken was $1.29. Inflation has come in like a bitch recently. It's just coming to punch hard. Just saying. Inflation comes in. Companies who don't need to do anything will raise their prices regardless because of inflation. It's not because the government just prints more money. It's not the fucking reason. You stupid shit. Now what does this say? Abso-fucking-lutely. What? Yeah, what's up with Fitz? God damn. Oh God. Oh yeah, that's right. Fitz is a piece of shit. Okay. Anyways, I just wanted to show that, because these dumb fucks have no idea what they're talking about.
And get Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell and President Trump on the same page. There's going to be lots of stuff in there that shouldn't be in there from both perspectives. But here's the reality. The Paycheck Protection Program, which is the most important part of this bill, literally saved the American economy when it was passed in the CARES Act. And the reality is right now, we were in the worst part of the pandemic that we've had. Democratic governors like Andrew Cuomo and Gavin Newsom are shutting down restaurants and forcing people out of work. And people need this money in order to make it over to the next year. And keep in mind, this is all going to...
Oh, you mean the states that are actually, per capita, doing the best in the nation on COVID? And they're not shutting restaurants down. As I showed at the beginning of this, I mean, restaurants are closed for indoor dining, but you can do outdoor social, distance dining. Or you can do takeout/delivery. You can come up and get your stuff at the curb. So, instead of, whining about restaurants being closed, why don't you actually do what they fucking say? Or, not fucking lie. Just
come
saying.
to an end. We've got the vaccine. The people are going to be all the at-risk population is going to be vaccinated by next spring, and the worst of this is going to be over. So we just need to get through the next few months and keep those businesses afloat so the American economy can survive.
What?
DeRoy.
Hold on.
I just heard you piping in there. I just want to give you a chance to respond.
Well, I think, Mark makes a good point that we have not just one vaccine, but two. By the way, it is amazing that so many people who are have yelled at President Trump for being incompetent, doesn't know what he's doing, obviously a buffoon. Somehow this guy who has no idea what he's doing was able to bring us not one, but two vaccines in about 9 months since the emergency was declared.
More on the way.
That's, it's a biological Manhattan Project, and that's amazing. And I think we can get to the point where people are vaccinated. Most of this will be behind us. We just need the economy to continue until that time.
Yeah, but Martha,
I keep
they're
hearing
not
people on the
saying
street, saying, oh, well, when we get back to normal, right? Go ahead, Raymond. And then I want to ask you guys about the pardons that just came in. But go ahead, Raymond.
Yeah. Joe Biden today and Nancy Pelosi said this is just the beginning, Martha. They're expecting another relief package on the back end of this. So there's more coming, no matter the vaccines. And that's what concerns the president tonight. I think that concerns a lot of taxpayers, and I'm infuriated over it.
Yeah. Well, what we need is to get things open and get people back to work and back to school and all of those good things. And some of this stimulus will start to take care of itself, and it will be, a really beautiful thing when people get back to their lives, because I think that's really what they want more than anything. Mark,
I agree.
Pardons tonight for several people.
I think it was spam. Now, okay, pardons tonight. Okay, whatever. Yeah, that's never a good thing. So what I'm hearing from them is get checks out to people, but $2,000 is too much. But you need to take care of people, and what are you doing? Procrastinating. You're hurting the American people. But you don't need to send $2,000 because that's way too much money to send to people. But you need to do something because people haven't been able to go to work in months. You're in New York. You haven't said anything negative about $2,000 payment. You've just said they need to... You are the most reasonable person there so far. You just said that they need to stimulate the restaurants. They need to just... Here you go. Oh my god, are you just... Why? Why is my phone... I don't even remember who you are. I don't know who you are. Go away. If that's all I can do. Holy shit. That's annoying as hell. I'm about to disable my Snapchat notifications. Hold on, y'all. Because this shit is hella annoying. Notifications. Okay, so that's not what I wanted. Just off. Go away. I don't care. That's so annoying. Okay. Stimulate restaurants. Too much money, and lying about pretty much everything except the beginning sentence. So that's what we've got right now. I don't even know who these guys are. Who this individual is. You're a Fox News contributor, so you already have enough money that you're being a fucking bitch. That's what you are. You're being a bitch. So are you, though. You're being a bitch. And you're being a bitch. And you're the most reasonable person on here. Because you didn't try and shit talk $2,000 payments. And didn't necessarily lie that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't know. I kind of got fish brained for a minute, several times throughout this.
Including George Papadopoulos, who, had a few drinks at a bar one night and talked to someone who used to do some spy work for Australia and perhaps some other agencies closer to home. He has been pardoned, and so has Duncan Hunter. Your thoughts?
Duncan Hunter. Who the fuck is Duncan Hunter? What did he do? What did he do? Campaign finance violations. Wow. Wow. Okay.
Certainly, Papadopoulos deserved a pardon. This whole Russia collusion conspiracy theory. We spent tens of millions of dollars in 2 years chasing nothing, what turned out to be nothing but a conspiracy theory, and he was at the heart of it.
Nope. Not a conspiracy theory. Mueller report. Fucking read it, you lying brainlet dipshit. You probably didn't even look into it. You're on Fox News as a fucking contributor of some kind. You probably didn't look into it. You watched them say, oh, there's nothing here. And that's all you're going to parrot.
So that's without question, that's deserved.
DeRoy?
I agree. I happen to read George Papadopoulos' book, which I recommend everybody in the audience, and just read about this idealistic young man who wanted to work for President Trump and just found himself in the middle of what seemed to be a real-life spy novel with all these people claiming that he was working for the Kremlin and the Mossad and all that, and he was just a guy trying to get a man elected president, ended up in jail, and I'm glad he got pardoned, and I hope he turns around and sues all the people who are involved and gets a nice big fat cash payment for all of his tremendous...
You can't do that. Being pardoned doesn't mean you were wrongfully convicted. It means the president pardoned you on crimes that you definitely committed. You don't get a pardon for a crime you didn't fucking commit. Just... God damn. Okay, there's the brainlet take.
Tremendous undeserved inconvenience and lack of freedom.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable when you look back at just the incredible wreaking of havoc on these people's lives, and Carter Page as well. Raymond, what do you think when you look at this? Just before Christmas, some pardons sprinkled around, George Papadopoulos and Duncan Hunter.
Well, look, the Papadopoulos is certainly deserved. People might quibble about the Duncan Hunter thing, but certainly Papadopoulos was a guy who was just roped into the middle of a made-up conspiracy. It didn't pan out, and so this is deserved. This is what these presidential...
What do you know? 3 brainlets all spouting literally the exact same fucking thing. Oh, it's well deserved. He was just some guy who was trying to help a man get elected president. He got caught up in all 3 of them. All fucking 3 of them. Are they reading off the same script? Is that what's happening here?
Pardons exist to do, to clear people's names, allow them to get on with their lives after a hellacious period. We all need pardons this year, I think, Martha, after the year we've been through.
Yeah, but there's...
Oh, I bet this guy's done some bad shit, and he's just tacitly throwing it out there, hoping Trump will just throw out a pardon. I almost guarantee it. How many subscribers do these fuckers have? Have they lost some? 6.68. Oh yeah, they've lost subscribers. Hard. Hard. So let's go here. Because what I really wanted to cover here. Oh.
Just moments ago.
This is actually on Trump's end. Purely narcissistic. It is. It's purely narcissistic. But that's fine. Because what it does is gives us, the left, a way to be politically effective. Going with strategy. And here's where I get to start tying in my rant about fucking dipshit lefties online with no mind for strategy or know-how of moving within politics. They don't understand it. They don't get it. They just think because they read theory that criticized bougie democracy and they immediately just started throwing it under the fucking bus. That's how you get tankies. They didn't read the parts where it says you need to save bougie democracy to have it as the battleground for socialism, to expand the democracy to the workplace, to have democracy. They skipped that part. They didn't get to that part. apparently. So, what we've got here is a way for the left to actually be politically effective. Because we've been pushing for $2,000 checks for months. AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, pretty sure Katie Porter, even Nancy Pelosi, who's not a leftist, she is a neolib. And I fucking hate a lot of her shit. But even she's been pushing for $2,000. She's an out-of-touch neoliberal elite. Literally. She's an establishment elite. She's got, like, a lot of fucking money. She's not the richest person in Congress, but she is probably the person who, within her tenure in Congress, has made the most money off of it, aside from maybe Mitch McConnell. The dinosaur him fucking self. So if the left has been pushing for $2,000, and Trump is pushing for $2,000, we can work, as disgusting as it may be, with him on this solution to the problem. Never work with fascists on a problem. You can talk to them about a solution. They probably won't come up with a good one, but in very narrow circumstances, like this, because Trump isn't actually a fascist in and of himself, he's a proto-fascist, sheerly due to narcissism and his own incompetence and fear of looking bad, allowed him to put somebody he knew was decent at this as his, like, essentially in the driver's seat. He had Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller's a Nazi. But we can work with Trump on this $2,000 thing. Because, you know, nationalism is a fucking disease, so you exploit it.
Scott, we're seeing some drama on the Senate floor right now. Senator Chuck Schumer just taking to the floor to try to bring that House bill to beef up stimulus payments to individual Americans from $600 to $2,000. Schumer trying to bring that bill directly to the floor. We saw Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, objecting to that measure, and now we're hearing some remarks here from Bernie Sanders. The two Democrats on the floor in this debate right now, Bernie Sanders and Chuck Schumer, are arguing that working families simply can't wait any longer for this increase, and pointing out that the House of Representatives passed this.
Okay, instead of you talking, why don't you just go, oh, hey, let me listen to Bernie Sanders tell it, and then I'll comment after.
With a two-thirds majority, including a number of Republicans voting for the increase, it looks like it's not going anywhere in the Senate, despite the fact that President Trump now supports the idea of these $2,000 payments. We'll monitor Bernie Sanders here.
We should all be very, very clear. The working class of this country today faces more economic desperation than at any time since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And working families need help now. Not next year, but right now. Last night, the House of Representatives, with a two-thirds majority, 275 to 134, two-thirds bipartisan vote, moved to increase the direct payment going to working families from $600 per adult to $2,000 per adult. The House did the right thing. I congratulate them. And now it is time for the Senate to step up to the plate and do what the working families of this country overwhelmingly want us to do. Madam President, as a result of the pandemic, tens of millions of Americans have lost their jobs and their incomes. These families in the middle of the winter now face the threat of eviction and the possibility of being thrown out in the streets. Hunger in America is at the highest level that it has been for decades, with moms and dads struggling to feed their kids and working families lining up mile after mile to get emergency food packages. We are even seeing an increase in grocery store shoplifting as desperate Americans try to keep their families from going hungry. All of this taking place in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. Madam President, over the last number of years, as I think everybody in America knows, Congress has provided massive tax breaks for the very wealthiest people in our country, which is one of the reasons why today we have more income and wealth inequality than any time since the 1920s. In fact, in the midst of this pandemic, this terrible pandemic, inequality has grown worse, with many in the billionaire class seeing their wealth increase by hundreds of billions of dollars, while average Americans struggle to put food on the table. Congress has given huge tax breaks to large corporations so that some of the most profitable and largest corporations in America today pay zero in federal income taxes. We have just passed the largest military budget in the history of our country, $740 billion, more than the next 10 nations combined. And by the way, there was almost no debate about the size of that huge budget. Trump's veto dealt with other issues.
See, Bernie is such a based Chad leftist because he was there with Karl Marx helping him write the Communist Manifesto, because this old man has been around trying to make sure that the working class is at least taken care of.
Meanwhile, over 500,000 Americans are homeless. Half of our working families are struggling to survive paycheck to paycheck. And in the midst of this terrible, unprecedented pandemic, over 90 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured in the midst of a pandemic, and they're not sure whether they can afford to go to a doctor. Madam President, we are coming to the close of one of the most terrible and painful years in American history. That is a tragic fact. Over 330,000 of our people have died from COVID-19, and as we speak, we are seeing record-breaking numbers of new cases and hospitals around the country being overwhelmed with new admissions. During the last year, the education and well-being of tens of millions of our young people, from childcare to graduate school, has been disrupted. And the terrible emotional isolation that this pandemic has caused, where people are unable to spend time with their family or their friends, has resulted in a huge increase in mental illness, drug addiction, and even suicide. Madam President, as I mentioned, the House has done the right thing. By an overwhelming vote, Democrats and Republicans voted to increase that $600 direct payment to $2,000. Recent poll came out. 78% of the American people think that was the right decision. They're hurting. They want help. The leaders of our country, President Trump, President-elect Biden, Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, are all in agreement. We have got to raise that direct payment to $2,000. So that is where we are right now in this historic moment.
That's really all I need from Bernie here, because he's absolutely right. When the major levers of power in the country, at least in the government, ostensibly, you got the Senate Minority Leader, the Speaker of the House, the President, and a vast majority of the population on board with a $2,000 check for one person, even older than Bernie Sanders. The man who helped develop feudalism himself, fucking Mitch McConnell. The man who is responsible for feudalism, because he never wants his hands actually like in the seat of power. He's always just right there where he can stop everything. Right behind. The Shadow Controller, the Grim Reaper himself. So, that's what I needed from Bernie right there, is a bit of fire. Just to keep things going. So where are we at right now? Hour and 20 minutes, wow. Wow, really?
In our politics lead today, President Trump is taking to, where else? Twitter, to rail against his party in the strongest language we've seen yet, demanding Senate Republicans vote in favor of $2,000 stimulus checks, quote, unless they have a death wish.
Okay, what? I have not really been on Twitter today, so, what is this shit? Unless Republicans have a death wish? Ooh.
But making no known other effort to persuade those Republican senators themselves.
Okay, I don't know what Section 230 is. I'd have to look over that shit, because I'm not, like, huge in it, but, this highlighted section, 100%. And Republicans seem to have a death wish. So let's get back into the political effectiveness rhetoric. If Democrats, who are actually being very politically smart, work with Trump to push for this $2,000, and Republicans are fucking fighting it. They are fighting it. They don't want to give $2,000 to every person. Which is dumb, because that's really not even that much fucking money. $8,500 really isn't that much money, but do you know how many people's lives could turn around at $8,500? Ungarnished? You know how much my life would be turned around? Do you know how much better my PC setup could be? Because I wouldn't have to worry. That's a big deal for me. I'd be able to pay everything that I need to. Set money aside to weather any emergencies, and still be able to upgrade my computer. So that I could bring better quality content to you all. Including being able to stream video games that I currently can't. So I downloaded, just to show you guys real quick, I know it's a bit of a fish brain moment getting off there, downloaded Genshin Impact and kind of started at. And Star Wars The Old Republic. This game pretty cool, not gonna lie. They're both kind of cool. So, he's right here.
And also calling Republican House leadership weak and tired for voting to override his veto of the defense bill. CNN's Boris Sanchez now takes a look at the growing divides between the president and his party during his final weeks in office.
Object.
Objection is heard.
As lawmakers spar over stimulus checks on Capitol Hill, President Trump spending yet another day on the golf course and teeing up a tweet spree, attacking his own party. Trump calling Republican leaders weak and tired, writing, "We need new and energetic Republican leadership. Our leaders, not me of course, are pathetic. They only know how to lose."
Not me, of course. No, you lost.
The president angry over an effort to overturn his veto of the defense spending bill, despite strong
disagreement is treason. By the way. Just saying. Fascist shit right there. Disagreement is treason.
Bipartisan support for the measure.
I'm not very surprised about tweets that are critical of people who are overriding the president's veto.
A senior Republican also telling CNN Hill Republicans share Bill Barr's assessment. These tweets are the ravings of a deposed king.
It really is a disgrace.
New details also emerging about how key Republican lawmakers narrowly avoided disaster by carefully persuading Trump to get behind the coronavirus relief bill. Georgia Senator David Perdue trying to survive a difficult runoff 1 week from today, traveling to Florida to personally lobby the president for his signature. While House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Senator Lindsey Graham, who golfed with Trump this weekend, also nudging Trump, who relented on Sunday, signing the bill despite days of threats to veto it. And more than 7 weeks since Joe Biden was declared the winner, Trump today still passing lies about voter fraud and fuming over a lack to veto it.
Hold on, what?
And more than 7 weeks since Joe Biden was declared the winner, Trump today still passing lies about voter fraud.
Did they just say still fucking lies about voter fraud?
Fuming over a lack of Republican support for his claims of election rigging. Though Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert is trying a last-ditch effort to overturn the election by filing a lawsuit against Vice President Mike Pence, attempting to force Pence to ignore the Electoral College results from 5 states when he oversees the congressional certification on Capitol Hill next week.
What the fuck? Gohmert, we just need to arrest these people.
Legal experts say the lawsuit stands no chance. Democrats calling it a spectacle.
This crazy, frivolous lawsuit, of course, will fail. Whatever stunt they have planned for the joint session of Congress will fail.
And Jake, there are 2 things here that are glaring. Number one, that the president is spending his days mostly on the golf course, the White House giving no indication.
Okay, don't need your fucking bullshit. Thank you, Bernie. Now to get to another thing here, real after this. I'm just gonna go to this screen. If you guys, I do think you guys should check him out if you haven't. He's really good. He does some really cool shit with people trying to scam or hack, and he fucks with them. It's great. So what we're having here, we're having the death of an of a political party in America. The Republicans are dying. They're losing their grip on reality, y'all. Just saying. The Republicans are doing all of the wrong things. They're pissing off their base at the worst possible time. They think that they've got the racism will hold their base together thing on lock. I mean, they've got the alt-right, but even the alt-right's getting really pissed at them right now. They're fuming because they're, A, not backing Trump 100%. And a lot of those fucking idiots who were Nazis and shit put a lot of their money into the political bets that Trump was going to blow Biden out of the water. And they lost all their life savings. Many of them want to commit suicide. Almost to the point where I almost feel bad for some of these actual Nazis. Like Parlor Cringe and shit like that. There are some Twitter handles where you can see people with like... yeah, you go to there and you'll scroll through and see people on Parlor cringing out, people cringing out, essentially. And saying stupid shit or shit like they want to kill themselves when they've got a Hulk Hogan Groiper avatar and Kekistani flags in their name or whatever. And so they're sitting there saying they want to kill themselves and whatnot, and you almost feel bad, but then you realize they're Nazis and you just kind of let that happen. Because Nazis aren't people. You don't want to let people kill themselves. Nazis and fascists aren't generally people. I mean, fascists can be pulled back over. It takes a lot of work. Is that really the most politically efficacious thing for me to say, rhetorically? Not really. But this is my live stream, and I'm not trying to convince people who are on their side right now to come over to my side. I'm trying to absolutely obliterate their ideology in the average person's mind. And make it known. They will prey on a liberal's love of free speech to try and further their goals. Sometimes you have to stifle certain forms of free speech to ensure that free speech exists. Because fascists will not allow free speech. Not if they get their hands on all the levers of power in a point where they think they can do something. They will destroy it. Along with most rights. So let's check this. Sanders vows to filibuster military budget to force Senate to vote on $2,000 checks. It would be unconscionable, especially after the House did the right thing, for the Senate to simply leave Washington without voting on this. Good. So Bernie's going to yep. If Senator McConnell doesn't agree to an up or down vote to provide the working people of our country a $2,000 direct payment, Congress will not be going home for New Year's Eve. Let's do our job. Sanders' statement came shortly up. So he let people go for Christmas, which, honestly, that's probably the smartest thing for him to have done. It's politically efficacious. "44 House Republicans joining 231 Democrats in approving the bill." So the smart Republicans who wanted to, not get voted out instantly. We can force the Senate to stay in session until the new year. This is no bluff. Yep. He's, inconvenienced the senators enough. Yep. God damn it, Bernie. He's a fucking dream on this stuff. He yells at his chat in most debates. Okay, Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush are in a much different position than a lot of other people are. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Shanks, Sabo, Vivi, and Hancock. Excellent. What do you have to say, Ben Shapiro? I don't care. Shut up. Okay, here we go. This will be great to get into the mind of Ben Shabibo. But before we do that, let's take a break.
Mind on fire.
Alrighty, everybody. Let's see if that actually... Okay, it did. I got myself some pizza. I got myself an idiot on the screen. Let's see what we got going.
I have been asked a million times who I think the top presidents were, so today we're going to tier rank the most notable presidents in American history. Before we jump in, this video is sponsored by Ring. On this tier list, we have 5 tiers. We have S, which I suppose stands for superior.
I'm sure he's going to put Trump and Reagan in the upper tiers and FDR in the lowest tiers.
It's at the top of the list, and then we have A, B, C, and F. Now, I'm really missing the letter D here, I will admit to you, because there are a bunch of presidents here who I think are actually D, but because they are D, I'm going to put them in the F category. We'll get to those in a moment. So let's start with the presidents who are at the very tip top of the list, the best presidents in the history of the United States. Obviously, on the top of the list, George Washington, our first president, kept the country together, left office peacefully. The father of the country, a great man, easy pick, right? George Washington as number 1. And then everybody knows that the other president, there are only 2 presidents in this top tier. There are not 3. Okay, I know the left thinks FDR's in that top tier. I know some people on the right think that Reagan's in that top tier. Neither one of them are Washington or Lincoln. Lincoln is the other guy in that top tier, beyond simply leading America through the Civil War and to a new birth of freedom. It was Lincoln who, as a thinker, helped to revivify the idea that the Declaration of Independence was an inherent part of the Constitution of the United States, that the two were inseparable. The ideas of liberty were not restricted to the Declaration of Independence as a non-operable piece of legislation, but actually infused the Constitution of the United States, and that liberty principles were supposed to be extended to all people of the United States, not merely white Americans. So
this actually blows my fucking mind. He's probably being disingenuous here. But if he's being serious here, George Washington with the founding of the nation, okay, I wouldn't put him at the S tier, honestly, because, you know, the whole slavery thing. But I'll give him credit for the Abe Lincoln. Abe Lincoln would go in the S tier category. For me, we've got Lincoln. Roosevelt's not in the S tier. He tried to save capitalism instead of having a socialist revolution. That's what happened.
Abraham Lincoln is at top of the heap along with George Washington. So that's the easy part, right? That's what everybody does. Washington and Lincoln are the 2 best presidents. There's very little debate about this. Then things start to get kind of interesting. So I'm going to sort of do this in reverse.
That's also what the website that lists presidents in their historical rankings are. So he's going with that method as well, I'm sure.
Order. I'm going to start with the people who I think are just the worst presidents, like people who just were terrible. So let's begin with the president who I think was pretty easily the worst president of the United States, without much of a question, Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson is a clear F. Woodrow Wilson is garbaggio.
Wilson was pretty fucking bad.
Woodrow Wilson was a vicious racist who was in favor of radical expansion of the federal government. He believed that the state should have no limits on it. He was effectively a socialist. He believed...
No, he wasn't. But he did do some pretty bad shit. Wilson wasn't a great president.
That the administrative government of the United States should be run top down by the elites. He not only got us...
Then how is that socialist, you dumb fuck?
...into World War I, he then used World War I as a pretext to basically go after his political opponents with the Sedition Act. Woodrow Wilson was a horrible, horrible, horrible president. And the fact that for a long time he was considered one of our better presidents speaks to how dumb America's historical class is. The reason a lot of America's historical class likes him is because they, again, like the administrative state. The administrative state, for those who don't know, that's the idea the executive branch really should run the government, that the legislature is sort of a vestigial organ. The president should be, as Woodrow Wilson says, as big a man as he can be, as big a man as is capable of filling the office. He was a big fan of how German government was run. He was a big fan of the idea that the government was sort of the be-all, end-all. Was Woodrow Wilson. Awful, awful person, awful president. He is definitely in the F category. Other presidents are in the F category. So this is where I really wish that there was like a D category right here. In what would be the D category, but we're going to have to push him into the F category because we really have no other choice. There is no D category here. LBJ definitely goes in that category, in that F category. So LBJ, awful president. The sole bright spot in the LBJ administration was a bright spot, and that was the Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act...
Okay, he did touch it. Good. I was about to say, Lyndon Johnson, not a great president, but he did do the Civil Rights Act.
Which is exactly right on banning all sorts of state practices of discrimination, is wrong when it comes to encroaching into private rights of association, and is wrong in some of its broad outlines as far as how to deal with the private sector. Everything else is garbage. The extension of the welfare state is garbage. The Vietnam War and his strategy in pursuing the Vietnam War, graduated equilibrium, horrible.
Graduated equilibrium, I'd have to look into more. Vietnam War, well, duh, terrible. Welfare state, not bad, actually. So, what the fuck, Ben? It's how poor people have been able to survive without just dying. Would you prefer we have a minimum wage tied to productivity? I would.
Horrible garbage, right? So LBJ, terrible president. He definitely goes in that bottom tier along with Woodrow Wilson. Other people who belong in that bottom tier, and the much beloved FDR goes in that bottom tier. Despite historians' attempts to paint FDR as a wonderful president, it's pretty obvious that he lengthened the Great Depression by as much as 8 years, according to a study from UCLA Anderson Business School, through his horrific economic policies.
Bullshit, motherfucker. He brought us back from the Great Depression. He did it through fucking capitalistic reformism, but he brought us out of the fucking Great Depression. You idiot. He didn't extend it. You're gonna have to put that link and then make sure that it's fucking peer-reviewed, because I guarantee it's laughed at.
He basically portrayed anybody who was not under his thumb as a quote-unquote malefactor of great wealth. He was a class warrior in the extreme. He really didn't know much about economic policy. Like, I'm glad that he was great on the radio, but aside from his pursuit of World War II, that's pretty much it. Now, this is why, again, that D category would have been good, because FDR as a World War II leader was good, except for, you know, the whole unfortunate imprisoning 100,000 Japanese Americans in camps.
Yeah, that's really bad. The internment of Japanese people. He was racist against Japanese people. He was a little racist against black people. He was initially a little anti-Semitic, but then he started interacting with those groups. Now, with the Japanese people, he kind of had a wartime cause to deal with there. I don't use that as a way to dismiss it or to justify it, but it is the explanation he would give.
That was not so good. But other than that, his World War II pursuit was good. I wish that he were in that D category, just like I wish that LBJ were in that D category, so we could at least recognize the good things they did alongside all the bad things. But some people have FDR in like the top tier of presidents. No effing way. No way. Okay, other presidents who belong in that bottom tier of presidents. I'm put Richard Nixon in that bottom tier of presidents. I think Nixon was a terrible president. I know there are a lot of Republicans who have sort of a warm spot for Nixon, mainly because he was not George McGovern. But putting aside Watergate, which again is like the least of his sins, considering that LBJ bugged Barry Goldwater's headquarters in 1964. He instituted price and wage controls. He did not dismantle the vast government apparatus that was built by LBJ. In fact, he exacerbated that. He pursued the opening of China, which has resulted in the rise of a dictatorial empire that now threatens American power in Southeast Asia. So not a big Nixon fan. I know.
Hey, which country between the U.S. and China is in Southeast Asia? It's not the U.S. Why does the U.S. get to have power in Southeast Asia and not the largest fucking country in Asia? Oh, and by threatening power, you mean trying to make trade alliances? Because America's a fucking dickhead? You see it in his eyes, too. He is a gremlin. Holy shit. So, FDR had actually pretty decent economic policies for, as far as things go, for making sure that people weren't dead. You know, implementing things that saved people. Like Social Security, which your grandparents are on, so they don't die. A food stamps program. I'm pretty sure it was him. The Medicare, Medicaid plans were not him. I think that was the next person, but he started that. FDR had really good economic policies as far as reforming capitalism to make it survivable for certain groups of people.
There are a lot of people who are.
Oh, that's right. That's why he's. I was like, why would you impugn FDR's economic policies? The tax rate of 94% over like $100,000, which is like $2.5 million per year in today's currency. So
I'm not. You could plausibly put him in the C category, but I'll put him in the F just to be even-handed. And finally, as the last person who goes in that F category, there are two more for the F category. One is going to be Barack Obama. So,
of course, he's going to put Barack Obama down there, even though Barack Obama is a C or a B tier.
So Obama goes in the F category. I think he was an awful president. I think he did horrific work, mainly with regard to his rhetoric. And in terms of his legislation, I think Obamacare was an atrocity. And I think that his spending plans with stimulus and raising us to $4 trillion budgets, it's helped destroy the economic future of the United States. That's bad enough. But between...
No. Inflation means you got to put more money into things. Saving the goddamn economy because a capitalist fucking crashes with the housing market means you have to bail shit out, which makes your budgets go up to maintain the shit you're doing. It's all capitalism. It's going to collapse. The inherent antagonisms cannot be reformed out of it.
Between 2008 and 2012, Barack Obama morphed from a president who sort of campaigned on almost a Clintonian third way as a guy who wasn't for red states and not blue states, but the United States. And in 2012, he went just hardcore intersectionality. Anybody who opposes me is a racist. America can be divvied into various victimized groups that can be cobbled together in a new rising ascendant majority.
That's not at all what happened. I mean, his rhetoric did shift a little bit, but there was never anyone who opposes me as a racist type shit. What the fuck is wrong with you, Ben?
Against the old America is extremely damaging, and I think that is going to be the future of American politics for quite a while. I think the Democratic Party never quite got over the Obama coalition of 2012. They've been trying to pursue it ever since, and it has broken American politics in ways large and small. So Obama goes in that bottom category. And then finally, last guy who goes in that category is, of course, James Buchanan, who is the president just before the Civil War. Now, to be fair, I'm not sure the Civil War happens because of James Buchanan. I don't think he does much to stop it. And so you have a bunch of events that are happening outside of Buchanan's control. Doesn't mean he was a good president. He was a terrible president. Okay, so now we've got your top category. And we've got the F category. Now we're going to do some people who are in the middle. So in the A category, which is just below S, we'll put Calvin Coolidge. So Calvin Coolidge, really underrated president, because Calvin Coolidge is the last president in American history to truly understand that the presidency should not be a major factor in your life. Now, Calvin Coolidge was famously taciturn. They used to call him Silent Cal. There's a famous story about Calvin Coolidge where he was at some sort of dinner party and a reporter came up to him and she said to him, President Coolidge, I've just made a bet with somebody. And she said, my bet is that I can make you say more than 2 words. And he said, you lose. And that was sort of how Coolidge was. But Coolidge also had a wonderful understanding of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence. He gave a speech on July 4th, and it's one of the great orations in American history about what America means and why the foundational principles of the Declaration of Independence had led to the prosperity of the United States, how the freedoms and liberties guaranteed to individuals had led to the prosperity of the United States, that we were created by the Declaration, we were created by the Constitution, we do not get to create it. It's really, really good stuff. One of the tragedies of American history is that Coolidge stepped down and Herbert Hoover took over, and Herbert Hoover was in fact quite a bad president.
We were not created by the Constitution or the Declaration. We created both. As a matter of fact, there's this thing in the Constitution called an amendment process that lets us change it, Ben.
Who else do we have here? Well, I'll put Reagan in that A category. And now, Reagan's big problem as a president was, of course, that he didn't get the spending under control. He was also saddled with the Democratic Senate for part of his term. In terms of breaking the back of inflation in the United States through his Fed chief, Paul Volcker, in terms of radically lowering taxes in the United States and leading to 2 decades of growth, in terms of escalating defense spending.
What year was Reagan president? U.S. economy, 1981 to 2020. I don't want any of that. I just want the actual I don't understand. It's not, No, I need the thing. Is it this? Yes. 1990, but I need the one that's actually... Well, we kind of stay on trend. Outside of Great Depression, mild recession. It's here because the housing market burst in here. See, I don't know what happened here. Oh. Becker Friedman. Like Milton. I don't know how accurate this actually is. Yeah, BFI working paper. Okay. Of course.
Particularly on Star Wars and breaking the power of the Soviet Union, Ronald Reagan goes near the top of the heap. So he ends up with Calvin Coolidge, who was one of his heroes, by the way, in that A category. Other presidents who end up in that A category.
Reagan was a terrible last president, by the way. Just to clarify. With things like war on drugs and, but that was even under Nixon and stuff. But, you know, war on drugs and all this other shit that he did was really bad. The crack cocaine distinction was under Nixon, I'm 99% sure. Antagonisms of the USSR. Almost causing a nuclear war with Russia. Coups, Desert Storm. Pretty sure that was all Reagan.
Category. Probably have to put Thomas Jefferson in the A category for his federalist view of American government, what we would call federalist now, meaning he wanted to devolve more powers to the states. Also, the Louisiana Purchase, which is one of those weird moments in American history where he saw a good deal, recognized he didn't have the constitutional authority to make it, and then went ahead and made it anyway. But Jefferson is widely regarded as one of our better presidents. I'll put Ulysses S. Grant, I think, in this category. So there's been a great sort of revision about how Ulysses S. Grant is portrayed in American history. Ulysses S. Grant originally was portrayed as sort of a drunken sot who lucked his way through the Civil War and then into the presidency and then was responsible for the rise of pork politics and sort of Gilded Era corruption. That's not really accurate. If you're going to remember Ulysses S. Grant's presidency for anything, remember it for the fact that he presided over Reconstruction. And one of the great tragedies of American history is that Reconstruction ends with Ulysses S. Grant's term in office. And Jim Crow really begins and gains a serious hold, and the KKK basically becomes a powerful force in the South after Ulysses S. Grant leaves office. Revisionist historians are now kind of...
No. You don't just focus on the one thing. You look at the whole thing. Yes, it is true that the KKK didn't establish themselves until after Grant with the Reconstruction effort, which was garbage anyways. Didn't do nearly enough stuff. Like, look at all the poor black people we still have. What the fuck? Where's the reparations? Where's the economic justice? Where's the actual social justice? So yes, I'll agree that it is a shame that that kind of effort ended under Ulysses S. Grant. But he also kind of did luck his way into the presidency. And luck his way through winning, helping, well, being one of the biggest fucking reasons that we win the Civil War against the fucking Confederates. Which is called a Civil War, but technically they seceded from the Union and then started a war with us. It was a war of secession, not really a civil war.
Of looking back on the Grant era and realizing that he was a stalwart defender of freedoms being extended to newly freed slaves in the South. B presidents, so people who are like, okay, kind of okay. So I'll put JFK in, well, I'm putting him as a C. JFK goes as a C. One of the more overrated presidents in American history. Obviously, history has been more kind to JFK because of the assassination than it otherwise would have been. The man was responsible for a wide variety of debacles during his first couple of years in office, including the Bay of Pigs debacle. However, he was a fervent anti-communist who did cut taxes. But
it's true. JFK was an anti-communist. That's the only reason you're putting him in the C. The cutting taxes and the... Yeah, JFK was actually a better president than Reagan, though, still.
As far as him being like one of our better presidents, I don't see any evidence of that. By the way, our engagement in Vietnam...
That's because you're dumb, Ben. You're a fucking idiot. That's why you don't see any evidence of him being a better president. You're the dumb fuck who thinks that the political spectrum changes depending on which fucking country you're in. Oh, God.
Begins with JFK. It does not begin with LBJ. Let's see. Grover Cleveland we'll put in the B category. So Grover Cleveland, the only president to serve twice non-consecutively. Grover Cleveland was responsible for making sure that the federal government did not outgrow what it was supposed to be. He famously rejected a stimulus package directed at Texas drought relief, saying that there is no constitutional warrant for this, which is something you would never hear from a president today. He goes in the B category. I'll put...
Yeah, that's because he was a dick. Oh, and there's no constitutional thing. Yeah, Congress controls the purse. They can do what the fuck they want with the money. So, he's not only wrong, but he's dumb and didn't read the Constitution.
Howard Taft in the same category. William Howard Taft was a far more conservative figure than Teddy Roosevelt. We'll get to Teddy in just one second. William Howard Taft was a sort of retrenchment of traditional Republican values. He went on to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States. So sort of a figure that's been lost to history and people make jokes about him because he was extremely fat. But the truth is that he was actually a pretty good president, and if it had not been for Teddy Roosevelt and his ego trips, then William Howard Taft would be more fondly remembered as the person who defeated Woodrow Wilson in 1916, which in 1912 rather, which would have changed the course of American history for the better in a lot of ways. Harry Truman is a B president. He tends toward the C. I would say that he's a B president because of his Cold Warrior nature, because of his handling of the end of World War II. I have a personal fondness as a Jew for Harry Truman, as virtually all American Jews do, because of his willingness to signal American support for the establishment of the State of Israel. The reason he doesn't rank higher on the list...
Actually... And that's where you, oh yeah, that's right. To Ben, any Jew that doesn't support Israel isn't a Jew. So, of course he would say confidently that all Jews, all American Jews, hold him in high regard because of this. Because you don't think people who don't support Israel are fucking Jews. That's your whole thing. But who the fuck are you to be the arbiter of who's a Jew? Benjamin. Do you think you could tell David Byrd that he's not a Jew? If he doesn't support the State of Israel? He's had a bar mitzvah. Like, is he not Jewish? Would you tell Bernard Sanders that he's not a Jew if he doesn't support the State of Israel? Pretty sure you wouldn't fucking do it, Ben. Even though you run around with your fucking yarmulke on. Doesn't mean shit. You don't get to determine who is Jewish and who's not. It's pretty manlet authoritarian king of you, huh? Authoritarian dictator Fasci Ben Shapiro. Little gremlin man himself.
Is because he had some dictatorial tendencies with regard to unions. There's a famous steel case in which he intervened in a fairly illegal way. And then not only that, his policy toward China was really bad. He should have provided significantly more support to Shanghai Shek in the face of the Maoist revolution in China. His failure to do so was instrumental in the rise of communist China.
See, it, in his opinion, wasn't his fucking place to interfere in the internal affairs of another fucking country when they're having an issue with their government. You know, he didn't think it was his place. Because it wasn't. So fuck you.
His handling of the Korean War left some things to be desired. President Trump, I think, is a B president. Now, I think in terms of policy, he'd be closer to an A. I think in rhetoric, the problem is that he's really been self-defeating, the president. I think most people understand this. So he's had some real rhetorical highs. I mean, he gave a great speech in Mount Rushmore, for example, that I talked extensively about. He gave an excellent speech in Poland talking about the defense of Western civilization. He has said many great things in the...
Yep, there's the fascist part there. He gave a great speech in Poland, a majority white nation, talking about defending Western civilization. Well, what the fuck is Western civilization, Ben?
Culture war that I think are worthy of saying. He has also said some incredibly wild and irresponsible things over the course of his presidency. He has led to less support for his agenda items that should be wildly more popular. I mean, the fact is that heading into the election, over 55% of Americans said that they were better off than they were 4 years ago, and then he performed at like 46% of the popular vote. There's only one reason for that, and that's because he was so rhetorically irresponsible. Again, on policy...
No, it's because he's a terrible fucking human. And just because there are a lot of people who got more money or they're doing slightly better, which is a trend that generally tends to happen the older you get, over 4 years, which is, yes, a presidential term, but guess what? That's generally when you can actually measure how much better you're doing unless you get really lucky in some parts of your life. Circumstance plays a part. But it takes about 4 or 5 years for people to really start seeing an increase in their standard of living.
Got to put Trump up with people like Ronald Reagan and Calvin Coolidge. In terms of rhetoric, you got to put him much further down the list, and so he ends up on average being in that B category. He is not an F, as so many people keep saying. That's ridiculous. He is not even close to in the same category as people like Woodrow Wilson, for example. I did forget one F, by the way. Jimmy Carter was an F. Jimmy Carter was a garbage president. So, as always, like all historians, I forget Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was not a good president. Maybe slightly better than people recall, in the sense that he actually did try to bring down inflation in the latter years of his administration. Yeah, did so unsuccessfully, but slightly better does not mean good. He was still a horrible, horrible president, so horrible that he got himself blown out by Ronald Reagan, who was largely considered by the media to be this sort of jokey figure. We are going to jump into that C category, but first, let's talk about our sponsors over at Ring. It's pretty important to know you can keep it up to have Ring. It is the best in the Ring to install in things that it'll make you feel better with Ring. Aggressive president, he foreshadowed Woodrow Wilson believed in the rise of the administrative state and this massive federal infrastructure. He pursued trust busting, which was really an irresponsible policy driven by populist need to break up big companies for no actual legal reason.
No actual legal reason? Yeah, well, guess what trust busting has got us? A fucking delay in the massive amount of monopolies we currently have, Benjamin.
I don't think that Teddy was a particularly good president. He did have expansionist tendencies that definitely maximized the territorial holdings of the United States, or at least protectorates of the United States. But overall, not a big Teddy Roosevelt fan. James.
Oh, you're a fan of the expansionist portions, but not the protectionist portions. You know, I'm not generally a fan of protectionism, but when it's protecting American workers from, like, you know, the corporate pigs that own all the shit, I'm fine with it.
K. Polk is an oft-neglected figure. He was responsible for widening the borders of the United States into Oregon and the beginnings of places like California in in recognizing the Texas Republic, the Mexican-American War. He probably goes in the B category. Also, the only president in American history to run for one term and then win and pledge at the beginning, I'm only going to be a one-term president and leave, which, honestly, that'd be more of that would be good. Calvin Coolidge ended up doing that, but I don't think he pledged to do that at the very beginning. Dwight Eisenhower, a lot of people would put him in like the A category. I would even put him as a C. I'm not a big fan of Dwight Eisenhower's foreign policy. I think that Dwight Eisenhower's foreign policy, which was supposedly realist, actually, in many ways, effectuated many of the problems that we see today in places like the Middle East. He supported the wrong side in the Suez Canal crisis. He basically did nothing as the Russians steamrolled the Hungarians during the Hungarian Revolution in '56. Yeah, I'm actually not a huge Dwight.
It's because it's not his fucking place. Notice how all the ones he's in favor of are like fascist expansionist presidents. He put Trump low merely because of rhetoric, but he likes the policies, like, you know, the Muslim ban. And moving the embassy to, like, Tel Aviv or whatever the fuck it was. All this other shit. But he doesn't like presidents who do things like protectionism for working people. Or, you know, not intervene and do interventionist policies in other countries. He likes the interventionalism, and he likes the expansionism, and he likes the white nationalism. He just doesn't like the bad rhetoric that comes with Trump. He likes all the other clowns.
Eisenhower fan. Overrated. And then finally, in C presidents, I'm going to put George W. Bush as a C-level president. And that's largely because of the last 3 years of his administration. He started off as a sort of compromise figure, and then he became the guy who led us through 9/11 in what I think was truly heroic fashion. And then by the end of his term, when he was, you know, saying that we had to step in and save capitalism by destroying capitalism, and when he was not taking on the subprime mortgage crisis, I think, in a responsible way. The big problem for Bush is that Bush was never capable of explaining himself and sort of assumed that history would explain him for him. And I just don't think that's ever a good strategy. Okay, so there you have 22 presidents. There are a few who, in retrospect, I wish that I had listed here. Andrew Jackson should be on this list. He probably ends up being a B president mainly because of his policy with regard to Native Americans. He would rank higher if it were not for his rather nasty policy.
Okay, I was about to go the fuck off because, while I do not have my name on tribal rolls, because my great-grandmother on my father's side did not want us to be on those tribal rolls, because she was in boarding school, you know, Native American re-education schools. She didn't want us to be on those rolls. But those are, you know, things I was about to go the fuck off on. But he finished it out in a smarter way, even though Andrew Jackson is a terrible fucking president. In my opinion, one of the worst three.
To say the least, with regard to Native Americans, fighting back the nullification crisis, ensuring the United States did not break apart. B president, probably historically speaking, 10 years ago you would have said he was an A president. There are a couple other presidents that we could rank here, but there you have it. There it is. What do you think? What did I get wrong here? Did I get any of them wrong? Of course I didn't. But let us know down in the comments what you thought.
Yep. Okay. That's pretty much as dumb as I thought it was going to be. What have we got going here? Alright, cool. I think you can tell what channels I watch a lot of. Never watched this one before in my life, so. I don't know who you are. How long is that? 8 minutes? Nope. Not doing it. I don't need to have somebody defend rap to Ben Shapiro. That shouldn't even have to be a thing. Oh, yeah. Mr. Fruit's usually a very family-friendly channel, for those of you who haven't ever seen him. But this shit right here is hilarious. Any of his game night stuff with, like, red flags or fun employed, I highly recommend. You will die laughing and then be resurrected to find more of it. Religion is not the problem. It's true. Okay. Since I'm just kind of scrolling for things to cover, let me go ahead and do the thing I was putting off. My problems with the left online. Things like, this is a good one. Religion's not the issue. Okay? Leave religious people the fuck alone in general. As long as they're not trying to shove it down your throat, it's okay. Leave them alone. Let them believe what they want to believe. If they ask you to disprove some shit, or ask you your opinion, you can talk to them, but don't go out there when people are talking, you know, about shit. Use religion as a fucking platform to spread socialism. I don't give a fuck. I'm an atheist, but I will point out to religious people that Jesus was a socialist. Alright? He'd have been a socialist, or a communist, more importantly. He didn't believe in the unjust hierarchy, so that's anarchy. Right there, he wanted to abolish unjust... He didn't like unjust hierarchies. He didn't like the fucking money traders and the rich people. He thought that people should be able to survive without having to sell themselves and work themselves to the bone. Like, there's so many good messages from specifically Jesus. Not necessarily the rest of the Bible, but the Jesus stuff is really, really good. As far as that goes. Another problem. The woke scold, as other people have called them. Brainlet fucking baby leftists who have this idea of what a leftist should be, and they hold this massively, almost unreachable bar of purity. Stuff that they don't even fucking hit. They'll pretend to online, but they don't. They don't fucking hit all these marks. But they will berate you and try and drag you through the mud and try and cancel you if you don't meet their perfect bar. They're also the gatekeepers at the same time, because if you used to be a right-winger and you started moving over and they don't deem you worthy enough, they will dogpile you until you no longer even feel like you should try and join the left, because it's not fucking worth it to deal with these people. Power on through. Alright? My former conservatives. Power on through. Ignore the woke scolds. In most cases, they're just virtue signaling brainlets. Come hang out with me. Come see what's going on my channel. Like, fuck. Come see this guy's channel. He's far edgier than I'm willing to be. Check out this channel. Not way less edgy, but you know what? Really good. Really good. But edge right here. Yeah, that's it. That's the main ones. If you want edgy, hey, go fuck yourself. One Piece is awesome. So yeah, don't let them approach you telling you that oh god, I'm just distracted by all the why Marxism is very appealing. How long is it? 10 minutes? Fuck it. Let's see what Let's see what dumb fuck right-wing man Thomas Sowell has to say on Marxism.
Not long ago, I asked you, Tom, what opinion, what view do you regret having held? And you replied that for more than a decade, you had been a serious Marxist.
Yes.
Explain that.
Well, as that decade began, I was living in poverty.
How old?
19 years old.
19. So you're starting college at that stage?
Oh,
or?
good heavens, no.
No, all right.
I mean, I was out there working in unskilled jobs and trying to make ends meet, living in a rooming house.
You're living in Harlem?
On Harlem.
Right.
I'd heard about Marx, but I finally someplace found an old secondhand set of encyclopedias for $1.19, which I bought. And there was an article on Karl Marx, and it seemed to me that he explained these situations so well that...
and the situation was what? That you took the train from Harlem down to the lower end of Manhattan?
No, the other way around. Coming home from work, I would sometimes take the bus, and it would go right up Fifth Avenue past all these glitzy places, and like cross 57th Street where all the fancy stores were, and Carnegie Hall and the rest of it. And then finally, as I got near home, it would kind of turn off this viaduct into 135th Street, and there was that sudden change in the whole scene at that point. And the question was, why was that? And the problem was two problems. One was that no one else had given any explanation. There was no competing explanation that sounded plausible.
In your life so far?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And that's true largely in our colleges, universities today. And the other was that no one had cautioned me that it takes an awful lot more knowledge before you can make these kinds of sweeping judgments in any case. But fortunately, I'd been taught earlier to respect facts and so on. And so even during my years as a Marxist, I would read things by people who weren't Marxists. I would read facts and so forth.
But I have heard you say many times that you got a good education in the New York City public schools in Harlem.
Yes.
Okay, so so far I have heard nothing about what the situation was. This is a poorly cut video.
Taught you to think. They may not have taught you Adam Smith and the defense of free markets, but they taught you to think.
Yes.
Quote, again from a personal odyssey, I graduated from Harvard magna cum laude. Economics and Karl Marx had a lot to do with it. Karl Marx got Tom Sowell through Harvard. Explain yourself. Explain yourself.
Well, I had been taken by the Marxist philosophy. And therefore, I had done a lot of studying. I'm one of the few people, I guess, who's read all 3 volumes of Capital and indexed them as I went. And from this, I wrote
this reading takes place before you get to Harvard.
I started, but at Harvard, I went through the Capital, and that then provided me with an undergraduate honors thesis.
How old is Thomas Sowell? $90. Okay. Okay. See that? And then this man is far more intelligent than this man. And I say that because this man, well, I don't know about more intelligent. He's more honest. Because I'm pretty sure Thomas Sowell recognized that he could earn a shitload of money by saying, oh, I was a Marxist, I read Capital, let me promote these BS narratives and talk about how welfare is the welfare state is holding black people down.
The honors thesis that got the magna cum laude. The grade point average was just enough to make me eligible.
you remain a Marxist at the University of Chicago under the instruction of
Milton Friedman.
Milton Friedman.
Yes.
How did that? If Milton couldn't crack you, you were a tough nut.
Well, but one summer working for the government as an economist was enough to show me that the government was really not the answer. That the level of understanding among the people, and I was in a program for interns where we saw the top officials of the Labor Department and so forth, and I realized these guys are not going to save us.
In other words, they were not the priestly caste that you might have been led to expect.
Okay, so we've got a biased institution with a biased fuck talking about it. That is not what they say in Germany, that's what they say in America. Oh god. He's like a Jedi, he used to be a Sith. No. God, these people's brains are just underdeveloped. Holy fucking shit. Okay. I need to stand up and move around a little bit. Yeah, I need to stand up and move around a little bit. So I hope you guys enjoy the jams. Let me go ahead and swap them around for you. Sorry, this one's force play on scene enter. Let me turn that off and let's get Give me one moment. I'll get you guys set up with some tasty jams. As a matter of fact, I could do... Oh, I need to upload that as a thing too. Where is it? Ah. We'll do this one. Alright, everybody. So, we are back. We've got all that out of the way. And I think, yep, Antonio Gramsci. Rosa Luxemburg, Georgi Lucas. Look at all of these people. Vladimir Lenin. Antonio Francesco Gramsci. Yep. Influenced. A lot of people influenced. Niccolo Machiavelli. Who the fuck is... Okay, so that's a name I do hear a lot. I know nothing about the guy. The Machiavellian principles. Okay. Not really big on Machiavellian stuff. The ends don't always justify the means. So, that's a problem there. Let's go ahead and just exit that out. And, you know, I'm a little torn here. I think... Yep. I think this is going to be the end of a short stream. I decided to go ahead and do that. But I'll end it with this. Alright? The left has a lot of fucking work to do. A lot of fucking work to do. We need to be efficacious, politically, rhetorically, and we need to not do so much gatekeeping. Okay? We need to hold back on that a bit. Because it's absolutely fucking ridiculous how hard people will push to keep others out. It's unacceptable. We're supposed to be inclusionary. And that means changing minds to our side. If we can't do that, if we can't accept people who used to be on the right into the left, we're doomed. So stop being a fucking brainlet. Because to make sure that we achieve socialism, leftist values in America, we need to be effective. We need to accept former right-wingers, former fascists. If we can get fascists off of the fucking fasci pipeline and into the lefty pipeline, we need to bring them over and accept them. Not just reject them because they used to be fascists. I hate fascists. Nazis, white supremacists. I do. I despise them. But goddammit, do I understand the need to not be a fucking moron that would reject anyone who's willing to move over to my positions. If they're moving over to my positions, truly, then we're good. If you like it, like what I'm doing here, you like the content, you like this particular message, go ahead, hit the like button, leave the comments and stuff, give me some critiques or whatever. Subscribe, please, if you want to. That'd be really, really cool. I'm trying to get the 1,000 subscribers at some point. Hopefully that'll work. But, yeah. That should be it for now. You guys take care. I love you all. And have a great night.